What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. As I'm recording this video, we're less than 10 subscribers away from hitting 50,000 subs on the channel. So please smash subscribe, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am without you. Being able to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Every single day for a living, a game that I played since I'm 13, that is crazy to me. So seriously, using my TCG player, link in the description down below, .meme, has changed my monthly life. I think you guys could tell towards the beginning of the year that I was burnt out relative to where I am now. I started getting in shape, and in 2020, unironic to the meme, I plan to be 2020's most ripped Yu-Gi tuber. It will happen, mark my words. And when I'm looking through everything in my life, the live streams and how much they do for me, you guys on the channel in general, thank you. That being said, let's stop the cheese and get to what you came here for. Today's market watch, starting with Spyral Double Helix, doubling up in price. That market price, though, when we look at this happening, it's very obvious why to a lot of people. If you've been keeping up with the releases that are coming, it's going to be because of Magician's Soul and how it works with Spyral Master Plan. This card is absurd for the deck and really brings it back to being able to top regionals and maybe even the YCS level. I personally think it will top a couple of YCSs, even without the might of Firewall Dragon. Now, the reason why Spiral Gear Big Red is so much is that, as a super rare at least, that it was locked in a special edition for this hollowed up form. So that's why the Germans are a lot cheaper in the other languages, because they're in the other territories for this release. And it also gave us Utopia the Lightning, if I'm not mistaken, for all regions. So the English copies are worth a grip more than the foreign copies because they're Euro English and people don't want to have to carry translations, and a lot of people just like that in general. Now, looking at Magician's Soul, there's a couple of slept on cards you may want to get sooner than later. Those penny stonks. Where Art Thou is a crazy good card, and thanks to the Cybersling structure, there's huge quantities on market for a cheap price in order to be able to actually search this out of deck without any risk. And talking about spirals, there's plenty of other level 1s that are maybe bumping in price again right now. Quick Fix Supers towards $3. Drone for the rares because it only has its rare printings. You see it towards the $2 mark. Again, I think you could have got this under $1 not too recently. Like after its first wave of buyouts, it dropped back to that point where you could have got it, and now the quantities are drying up again as people race towards this because of the hype of Double Helix. And yeah, on eBay it is towards that price as well. Another card to consider is 1-for-1. The holographics are a bit more for the ultra rares, but dang do the ultras look nice. A lot of the 10s will come damaged. It's very hard to get the super rares mint. That's why they almost don't exist when you're looking around for them, but if you run through, I'm sure there's sellers that do have them listed as near mint at somewhat of a decent price versus the ultras. So really take your pick on these cards. 1-for-1 historically sees more meta play, but it's not a bad thing to be able to get this to your hand because that's where you can activate its effect to do the following. So definitely consider that. And even the commons of this are starting to get bought out. We see Mission Rescue, only 16 prices on market for the macro common, and it's headed towards $1 somewhat quickly. So if you have these, I might be waiting to sell them rather than rushing to pick them up right now. Definitely some stonks here happening with this set release that's going to be happening. What a great set in general, by the way. If you're looking around for this right now, I think that we can actually see prices continue to dip for the ones that are available. This is because places are getting their allocation guaranteed from distro and they're getting ready to sell it. I still think you'll be able to pick up $60 boxes of this, if not 50 like most legendary duels, but with 5 protagonists within the set, it's going to be hyped more than ever. Now, speaking of sponsors, Midnight Dreams has a really cool playmat that's come out, and they have a black and white version and a color version of the dreadful Vendetta. I love this being based on Spawn so much, so this black and white version actually does more for me than the version that's filled in with color. I don't know what it is. It's almost just something that's just sharper about at least the Slayer side, but you can get it as a 2-player cloth mat. You can get a rubber mat with either side if you have a preference reference, like, you want to be the destroyer of worlds. So I really do like what they've created here and the options that they give, and it starts at $35 to $55, and you can use code What's good? I think it's 5 or 10. You can check in the description down below for how much percent you can actually get off. It's right below me. 10% actually off of these. So do be sure to check in. And they also have t-shirts now with Wacky Wisecracks by Winda, and that's more of his own personal taste. I like the Dante shirt the most, I think, because it's kind of that serious flair, and there's plenty of BA players out here who I would think would like to have this shirt in that nice red and yellow. In the future, they may have color options as well as the side options, so do pay attention to that. Midnight Dreams really pushing forward with more apparel for general audiences. Scrap Orthros, which I've been saying is Scrap Orthos forever. You know, sometimes you learn you've been saying a card's name wrong for like 10 years. It's bought out to the $21 point tier and quickly is $26. This is only because of one man on the market, Asian Persuasion 2008. Now, let me tell you, if you're hoping to copy his success, Asian Persuasion tends to take the S's out of this word with any deck and turn that crap into gold with results throughout the ages. He's just a master of these kinds of decks, and you can tell his dedication to scraps is far longer than probably any of yours that are currently playing the game today. He got 3rd place at the Fayetteville Regionals, did a tutorial with it, and of course one of the hardest pieces to get from Extreme Victory is Orthros. I would think that people can get hyped for a Yugi Tuber's results. That's perfectly fine, and the scrap link coming out, we should have predicted some kind of rogue top. Of course, it's in Johnny's hands. Amazing player to this date, but really, he's the rogue tier hero. If you're trying to follow in footsteps, good luck to you. I would be selling this immediately if I had extra copies. Let's talk about Ash Blossom Secret Rare real quick. This is a weird one for you to bring up, John. The first editions are lower than I have ever seen here in the winter market when I take a little peek at them on TCG Player. Starting at $27 on the second page, look at how many first edition near mints are under $30 here. So using that TCG Player link in the description down below, if you've been waiting for the max rarity of this card as it currently stands, there's no better time. Over on eBay, it is quickly way more to pay for this. Somehow, TCG Player just has this lineup of more so duelists that use this website to sell, and it's way more competitive over here. So if you are trying to sell your ashes, maybe you want to try eBay. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit for its secret rare by comparison is towards $35. To be granted, this card sees way more play than it did in previous years past. It keeps becoming a better option against cards like Masquerena, so there's some hype there, and it's a little older. It has an ultimate rare as an alternate highest rarity option where Ash Blossom does not. It's crazy to see Ghost Ogre Secret First Ed outshining Ash Blossom Secret First Ed, in my opinion, by such a margin as this, $8+. That's pretty crazy to me. Looking at Chaos Impact, it's going to be a while before we can really tell the long-term prismatic prices and what they're going to hold and where they're going to stop falling for the lower ones. But thanks to the special editions, which don't have prismatics at all, we're seeing the final bottom out of the market for Chaos Impact. And what's really odd is another gap between TCG Player and eBay. This time, eBay wins instead of TCG Player. After the sales that TCG Player had, Masquerena refuses to fall back down under $35, where it's consistently getting listed by somebody around $30 on eBay. This gap is just alarming to me. It tells me there's some huge demand for Masquerena on the market, and then once we leave the winter season towards the WCQ season, I have a sick feeling that this card is going to be $40+. So I would definitely get it during the winter off season at whatever price is cheapest for you. Always take care of yourself first here on my channel. Don't blindly use that link down below to shop. Only use it when it's the best deal for you. But looking at the rest of the set, there's a couple of interesting things. Abomination Prison really trying to hang on to $15. It does have a little future support coming, and they mentioned it with the OCG ban list, so it's interesting they're keeping their eyes on this typing. I saw a 6-striker Orcus deck last night that is very consistent, and they also use Draco Berserker of 10 Yi. I like this card a lot more now that I consider it as Draco Berserker of the of the Gizmek Destruction, basically. Whenever they activate a monster effect, you banish it. This is kind of crazy that it just takes care of Gizmek Orochi so easily and flawlessly. Also, talking about Gizmek, if it destroys an effect monster by battle and sends it to the grave, then you actually can go ahead and make a second attack after gaining that attack. So it's straight up just the Gizmek Destroyer. That's what this card is. And in this format, that is very, very important, is people commonly try to use that Gizmek to not die. I really respect this card a lot more after those interactions. Going through some other stuff, we have news from Divine of the Heralds. This card is awesome. It looks like Minerva, but it's used for fairy decks. It's a level 2 light fairy tuner, and its really PogChamp effect is, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can send a fairy monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, and if you do, increase the level of this card by the monster's level until the end of this turn. Also, if this card is tributed, you can special summon a level 2 or lower fairy monster from the deck. Well, what people are considering is the end of Gildogra. Gildogra is still going to be able to get 2 cards away for the life points you pay, but it is an awesome tool for you to have. Unce is probably very overlooked. It is a light fairy as well, so you have access to destruction. You might be teching one in the decks that are hyping this up. Also, Infernoid, getting those rumbling hypes from the OCG and topping here and there over, here with a couple of 4th place finishes recently. I'd consider having copies of that song. Definitely with how low the quantities are starting to ride on market versus some sellers just having high quantities being the final stopping point of their prices. Get it sooner than later. Another card to consider is Herald of Arclight, but the Battles of Legend version bottomed out this price. This is definitely a great penny stock as it still only has its couple of printings through time. I would want access to this card. I would get my copies way sooner than later. And finally, one of the memes that I find a ridiculous reason for it baby bumping up in price. The Star Wars movie is here, John, and Cosmos are going up in price. I know so many people picking up Cosmos because of the Star Wars movie. That's ridiculous. They're obviously picking this up because of the Mandalorian. But seriously, some of the prices and quantities are going back off market just a little bit. They're up a little bit versus their market price. Something to pay attention to. I heard the movie's kind of bombing early, but never take critics' opinions that early. Go ahead and form your own opinions by seeing it yourself to call it trash or not trash. And a meme from the stream. 7 Colored Fish First Ed Metal Raiders got bought out last night. The first person back on the scene is Adam Korn with $1.45 copies, and then the next lowest copies are like $3 or $4 if you're looking for First Ed 7 Colored Fish. All this stemmed from an argument on my stream about how many colors 7 Colored Fish has on it. Rep headphone users. I said the gray tusks are outside its mouth and that's the 7th color, and then they point out in future 7 Colored Fish copies that there's 2 shades of green on the head, thus there is only 6 colors on this version and 7 there. Oh my gosh. If you want to ever get me triggered again, just bring up 7 Colored Fish, and there's a buyout to go with it. So thank you guys so much for watching today's Market Watch. Please use my TCG player link in the description down below for terrible buyouts like this. If you're gonna meme me, at least if you're gonna make me just have that amount of stress, please use my TCG player link for those terrible buyouts. Thank you guys so much for watching again. Subscribe if you haven't already. I can't believe we're really reaching these kind of heights with the channel, and I can't thank y'all enough. And do check out Midnight Dreams for these awesome designs. They also have this really awesome Witchcraft design that they released somewhat recently. Too bad the deck didn't pan out as much as a lot of people thought it would, the next coming of Sky Strikers, but it does still have a lot of potential. They just need to find the right cards, and I love how they added the spellbook and stuff in there. There's such attention to detail over at Midnight Dreams.